Hello, everyone. Welcome to the NFL Week 8 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. If you're watching this, you see that I'm wearing my Jays jersey, my game hat. I am recording this intro right before leaving to watch Game 7 of the ALCS between my beloved Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners. I have a ticket. I will be at the game. I figured I would record the start of this intro tonight before the game, so you guys kind of get my reaction before and after the game happens. This week's episode of the podcast is not going to come out till Wednesday because this game's at 8 p.m. my time. By the time I get home, it'll be 11:30 probably, and then if I recorded tonight after the game, I wouldn't get to sleep until like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. So Game 7 is going to take a little bit more of importance over recording this podcast. I'll record this probably the rest of the intro tomorrow night, and then the entire rest of the episode tomorrow night will be out Wednesday morning as well. But if you're listening to this, you already know that, because if you're listening to this, then it's already been posted. So I guess I'll tweet to let you guys know as well. I know this is a football podcast. The rest of the episode is going to be about football, but I just wanted to come on and record my thoughts before Game 7 right now, because as you guys know, if you've been listening to this show, I have waited my entire life for a team that I cheer for to win a championship. Technically, the Blue Jays did win one in my lifetime. I was 10 months old when they won the 93 World Series. I'm personally not going to count that, considering I was barely conscious. Now, this is a Jays team who I just moved to Toronto right at the start of the baseball season, so I've been in Toronto throughout the season, except for obviously a month or so when I was back home in the East Coast in the summer. But I've been to 14 Blue Jays games now, including the playoffs, 14, 15 Blue Jays games now. I've never felt this attached to a team that I cheer for ever. And this team just has fucking heart. They're so fun to watch. The city is buzzing. Vlad Guerrero is not only a superstar, he has stepped up in the playoffs, something that Toronto fans have never seen from their star players. The city is buzzing. I live a 25 minute walk away from the stadium. I've been to like 14, 15 games. We are one win away from the World Series. I also want to shout out Pat Freiermuth, who him scoring 2 touchdowns on Thursday Night Football at 100-1 last week, has paid for my ALCS Game 7 ticket. Now, I could have used all the money, and I could have bought like a behind home plate seat. I don't know, well, maybe with the winnings from that. I only put $15 on it, but that's, 100-1, that's $1,500. But I wanted to save some money, so if the Jays do make the World Series, I can squeeze out a ticket both for tonight and for a World Series ticket. So hopefully you guys tailed me. Hopefully you guys follow me on Twitter at Iain MacBets, and you tailed that Pat Freiermuth 2 touchdowns, 100-1 bet. So thank you to Pat Freiermuth for paying for my ticket tonight, because they are not cheap. I'm in the 500s, and I still had to pay $375. And that was a pretty good deal for the ticket I got. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I've never been this nervous for. I think probably the last time I was this nervous for a game was Super Bowl 51, and we all know what happened there. This team does not have the vibes of other teams I cheer for that continuously break my heart and blow it in big spots. This is a team that has stepped up in every big moment so far this season, whether it's a big game in the regular season, whether they find themselves behind in a big game, whether they're down 0-2 in the series and then down 3-2 in the series a few games later. This team continues to step up in big moments. This might be the closest any team I root for will have to win a championship in my lifetime. I'm almost 33. By the time the next championship happens after this one, I will be 33. I'm 33 here in a couple months. Who knows how many chances I'm going to get. The Maple Leafs are never going to win the Stanley Cup, so I can eliminate them. The Falcons suck, apparently, after last night's loss. So it's like, and this Jays team, who knows if this Jays team gets back to this point in the season. It does kind of feel like this is a team that's just kind of everything worked in their favor at the right time. Bo Bichette's a free agent this offseason, so who knows where he goes. I mean, who knows how much longer we have from a 36-year-old George Springer. The rotation is kind of pieced together, with tape. This just kind of feels like the year. It kind of feels like now or never. For not only for the Blue Jays, but for me. For a fan, a diehard sports fan, who just wants to see a team he cheered for win one championship in his lifetime. Just one. There's fan bases out there who cry and complain about how shitty their teams are, and for good reason, but a lot of those fans at least have some kind of championship in their life they can go back and relive. I don't have one. What I have is 28-3. What I have is Game 7 blowing leads by the Maple Leafs. My best sports moment is a Jose Bautista bat flip in a divisional round that ended up resulting in nothing. They lost in the ALCS back-to-back years. So I had to go to tonight's game. Whether we win, I want to feel the joy that's going to come with a win in a World Series berth, or if we lose, I kind of want to feel the heartbreak. I've rode with this team all season. I want to be there for the biggest game. And how many chances will I have the rest of my life to go to an ALCS Game 7 at the Rogers Center? Probably none. And I'm not saying they're never going to make it back in the ALCS, but an ALCS Game 7, and an ALCS Game 7 at home. And what definitely won't happen is it won't happen while I'm living 20 minutes away. Because I'm going to buy a house some place outside the city. This is a temporary apartment I'm living in the transition back to Canada from the US. I won't be in this apartment next summer. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for not only the Blue Jays, but for me, which at the end of the day is what's important. So I'm about to leave. Game is at 10 after 8. It is now about 10 after 6. I'm going to leave right after recording this. I want to get to the stadium about an hour and a half before because I got to get my game face on. I need to sit down in silence. I'm going by myself. I need to sit down in silence and get my game face on. This is it. This is it. Now, if we do win this, we've got to take on the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are going to be like minus 200 favorites against the Blue Jays. But just get us there. Get us to a World Series and see what happens. If I paid $375 to go see my team lose in Game 7 of the ALCS, I don't... Come on, guys. One time. I don't ask for much. Give me a good sports moment. Even if they lose in the World Series, give me this in-person Game 7 ALCS win. Give me this one. Give me this one. All right. So this is me pre-Game 7. When you see me and hear my voice in the next 5 seconds, you'll know how the game went. Holy shit. What a game. My teams never do that. Big players make big plays in big games, and teams I root for never, ever do that. That was an insane game to be at. I'm going to be honest, 99% of that game I didn't even enjoy. I was a ball of nerves. I could barely even stand up. I had to stop drinking beer, like 2 beer when I got there, and then I stopped because I was too nervous. Thought I was going to throw up from anxiety. But then I got to see my team have one of the biggest moments in ALCS history. Just a Springer dinger to take the lead, and then we still had 6 more outs to go. That was unbelievable. Unbelievable. The city is celebrating. The streets are crowded. Cars are honking their horns. People outside singing, dancing. I had a victory cigar on my walk home. I did have to come home, though, to do a little bit more work. I couldn't go out and party. I'd rather wait to see if we win the World Series and party that night and stay up all night that night. Wow. I really thought I was kind of sewered myself recording the first half of the intro before the game. I thought the second half of this intro to the podcast was going to be sad, but man, anyone who says sports are dumb is an idiot. What an emotional roller coaster this season has been. The playoffs have been. The series has been. And we still have a whole World Series to go. I'm glad we have a few days off because my emotions need a break. I'm emotionally exhausted. I've never been that nervous for a game ever in real life. Being there just like ramps up the emotions times 10. Wow. We got a runner on third and second, and I was like, well, this is it. This is the chance for the Jays to finally do it. And I was like, there's no way like Springer's going to get a home run here. That'd be too good to be true. And then he did it. I was hugging everyone around me, hugging strangers, high-fiving strangers. I sat next to a poor Mariners fan. There was a woman in the seat next to me. I'll never forget her. She's a Mariners fan, has had season tickets for 30 years, flew out to Toronto to watch Game 6 and then Game 7 because she wanted to finally see her team go to a World Series, and then they lost both games. She left in the top of the eighth, bottom of the eighth. She left in the 8th inning. She was like, I'm just going to squeeze out here. I don't know if she ended up watching the rest of it on the screen, like out in the, whatever you call the area, But she never came back to her seat. I feel terrible for her. She was very nice. Nice lady, and by herself flew all the way to Toronto from Seattle for 2 nights to watch Game 6 and Game 7, needing her team to only win 1. And they were winning that whole game. Oh, I felt bad. Not bad enough, though. Holy shit. Jays Dodgers. My dad, who passed away 3 years ago, he was born in 1960. He was a Dodgers fan for the first 17 years of his life, and then obviously became a Blue Jays fan when Toronto got a team. So it's too bad. I wish he was around to be able to see this World Series between his 2 favorite teams that he cheered for. But he was around for 92 and 93. So, he was kind of in the prime of his life for those wins. I'm excited. Jays are significant underdogs. We got Ohtani coming to Toronto. The Jays do have home field advantage. That's big. Friday night, Game 1. What a world. But this is a football podcast. I went 1-1 tonight. I think that's 7-8 on the week. I have my picks locked in. I locked them in earlier today. The written version of the Road to 272 is going to be out tomorrow morning as usual. But you're not going to hear this podcast till Wednesday morning because I'm not going to record my picks tonight. It's right now 1:09 a.m., 10 after 1 a.m. If I record all my picks and edit it and put it out tonight, I won't be in bed till 4. And I can't do that because I got to get up and work. So, what a night. What a night. Tough series ahead. Going to be tough to beat the Dodgers, but chip in a chair. Chip in a chair. We got a chance. The road to 272 bets marches on. All right, it is now a day later. It is Tuesday night. Let's rip through my picks for NFL Week 8. Once again, sorry that this episode is going to be a day late, but it is what it is. Wasn't going to record last night. There are only 13 games to watch and bet on this week. 6 different teams on bye. Let me bring up what teams are on bye here. So this is going to be a fairly quick episode. Also, this is already late tonight, too. Tuesday's a busy work day for me, so I'm recording late tonight. And I'm exhausted after... I didn't fall asleep last night after the Jays game till, I think, 3 o'clock by the time I fell asleep. I probably could have ended up just recording the podcast. I just watched replays of the George Springer home run over and over and over again. Teams on bye this week. The Cardinals, Lions, Jaguars, Raiders, Rams, and Seahawks all on bye this week. So just 13 games to bet on this week. Last week, 7-8 minus 1.43 units. There's been 7 weeks now, and I have gone 6 of the 7 weeks have been losing weeks. Season record 47, 60, and 1 for minus 11.41 units. It is what it is. I'm not going to go through and make excuses for the losses. It just is what it is. We got still a little bit more than halfway left of the season, so I can fight back here. 11 units isn't the worst thing in the world. All right. Let me just check. I did bet on Louisiana Tech tonight. Oh, went to overtime. Oh, boy. Minus 3.5, so probably not going to win that one. Louisiana Tech. I will say it's much more difficult to watch college football, to find how to watch college football, especially these smaller conferences when living in Canada. Louisiana Tech had their field goal blocked at the end of the game. All right. Let's get into my picks for NFL Week 8, and then I'll wrap up the show, as always, with my Survivor Talk, my teaser of the week, and my 5 best bets. But let's rip through these here tonight, because I'm tired. The Vikings taking on the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday Night Football. I will take the 3 points with the Vikings. Now, I did place all these bets yesterday, So I do have updated lines here in front of me. You actually have a better line on the Vikings than what I got. I got them at +3. There's a +3.5 available, at least at Pinnacle, if you have access to Pinnacle. But I believe, just in case, let me just bring up an example of a recreational book just to see what you guys are looking at. +3 -102 at FanDuel. That tells me there's got to be a +3.5 somewhere else at a rec. +3 even money. So maybe it's all right. I'll dig into this a little bit further then. Let's see. Thursday. There are 3.5s available as of right now at PointsBet. There's a 3.5 at ESPN Bet. I got it at +3. I don't know why the Chargers are field goal favorites, especially with Carson Wentz playing. If J.J. McCarthy was playing, I probably wouldn't have faith in this bet. Carson Wentz actually hasn't been all that bad this season. If you look at, my favorite quarterback stat, you guys know this by now, EPA plus completion percentage over expected. Carson Wentz, 13th in the NFL. That's better than Baker Mayfield. That's better than Mac Jones. It's better than, most notably for this game, Justin Herbert. Now, obviously, a lot of things taken into consideration in that. That's not just Carson. I'm not trying to say Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than those guys. But not as bad as I kind of thought. I thought it was going to be a disaster when he took over as the Vikings starting quarterback. It's a shame that apparently, according to Vikings fans, Joe Montana's on the bench. But hey, you got that ankle that was supposed to be a 2-week injury that's turned into a 7-week injury. So what can you do, I guess? But the biggest reason why I am taking the Vikings here is because the Chargers are in trouble with no offensive tackle. I believe Joe Alt is going to miss this week again. And that has completely killed their offense. Chargers now 23rd in the NFL in DVOA, 15th in EPA. Even their defense has fallen off lately. 19th in opponent EPA, but most notably, it comes down to their complete inability to block. Justin Herbert just has zero time to throw the ball, and that is terrible news going up against the Brian Flores-led defense that is a master at drawing up blitz packages. The Vikings are 3rd in the NFL right now in pressure percentage, pressuring the opposing quarterbacks on 27.6% of the dropbacks. This is going to be, Justin Herbert might get sacked 10 times in this game. So I will take the points with the Vikings on Thursday Night Football, +3, -105. Let's move on to my Falcons, who I think I should have, I'm betting on them, -7.5, -108. I think the move to make with the Falcons is to just bet on them as underdogs and fade them when they're favorites. But I guess I'll lay the points on them this week because I don't know how you can bet on the Dolphins at this point in time. I mean, not only are their metrics terrible, not only are is their defense probably now the worst in the NFL, but man, that locker room's tough. You might want to wait to see, once Mike McDaniel gets fired, which you assume is going to come one of these weeks, then do you bet the Dolphins because you assume the locker room might be in a little bit of a better spot? Maybe. But Tua's not looked good at all. 4 picks last week and ended up getting benched. Just a disastrous situation for the Miami Dolphins. So, I mean, I could read off all the advanced metrics that you want. 30th in DVOA, 29th in net yards per play. At the end of the day, the Falcons team is much better than the Dolphins. I know with the Falcons, it is kind of a situation where if they just won, they're probably not as good as they just looked, but if they just lost, they're not as bad as they just looked. They weren't as bad as people thought they were after they lost to the Panthers 30-0. They then weren't as good as they looked when they upset the Bills on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. And then following that, they probably weren't as bad as they looked against the 49ers on Sunday. People forget Michael Penix's still a very young quarterback. 8 NFL starts, 9 NFL starts? Was he horrific against the 49ers? Yes. Did he miss wide open receivers all day? Yes. Was he going up against a practice squad defense? Yes. It's almost like as if Penix needs, it's like the harder the defense he plays against, the better he's going to play, which is very strange. But yeah, I'm going to believe in Penix against this defense. I think any NFL starting quarterback's going to be able to throw the ball against this Dolphins defense. So I will lay the 7.5 points of -108 on the Falcons. One of my favorite bets of the week this week is going to be the Ravens 6.5 point favorites against the Chicago Bears. This is the ultimate buy low spot on the Ravens, sell high spot on the Chicago Bears. Let's pump the brakes on the Chicago Bears, please. This is not a good football team. They are not going to be in the NFL playoffs. Yes, they have won 4 straight games. Those wins have come against the Cowboys, Raiders, Commanders, and Saints. And they didn't. I guess they probably the best they looked in those games was against the Cowboys, but certainly didn't look good against the Raiders, won by 1 point. Didn't look great against the Commanders, won by 1 point. Didn't look good against the Saints, ended up covering. But still, that game still could have gone either way. So this Bears team is going to come crashing back down to earth. People are overrating them, especially in the betting market, I think. Whereas the Ravens, I think now is the time to invest. I'm a little concerned that Lamar Jackson missed practice on Monday. But the betting market with the Ravens still at 6.5 point favorites, I think that says that he is going to play this week unless something unexpected happens. And it's not only Lamar Jackson who's coming back, I believe, healthy for the Ravens this week. If I can just pull up their latest injury report here so I don't speak out of turn, but I believe they're getting their offensive tackle back. I believe they're getting Awuzie back in the secondary. Yeah, so, I mean, this is the issue with me doing the podcast, even on Tuesday, is we don't really get a strong idea until Wednesday. But, yeah, I think Chidobe Awuzie is going to be back. I think Ronnie Stanley, I think, is going to be back. He's questionable to return right now. Emory Jones is getting activated, but he is not playing Week 8 against the Bears. But at the end of the day, I still think this is, if Lamar Jackson's on the field, this Ravens team, especially at home, I think is going to beat up on this Bears team. So I will lay the points. This is one of my favorite spots of the week. It is a buy low, sell high spot. Give me the Ravens minus 6.5 against the Chicago Bears. All right. The Browns against... sorry, I'm just checking to see the Louisiana Tech score. The Browns +7 against the Patriots. I will take the touchdown worth of points with New England in this one. I think this week is a big buy low, sell high in a few different spots, and I think it's a bit of a sell high spot on the Patriots because, yes, Drake May has looked fantastic. He's an MVP candidate. He's third on the odds list to win NFL MVP, but the Patriots defense has still been bad. They're 20th in overall DVOA. Their defense is 28th in defensive DVOA. They're 25th in opponent dropback success rate. They're allowing 5.6 yards per snap. That's 23rd in the NFL. Whereas the Browns defense has been continuously one of the very best in the NFL. Probably a top 5, probably 4th, 5th best defense in the NFL. So if I'm looking at a game where I'm being asked to lay a touchdown worth of points, I need the both offense and the defense of the team that's favored to be better. And not only is the Browns defense better, but they are significantly better. So that is enough for me to take the Browns +7 in this spot. Give me a touchdown on the Browns against the Patriots. The Philadelphia Eagles against the Giants in a rematch of that game. I managed to get the Eagles at -7 at even money. The odds have moved towards the Eagles, so I believe it's just 7.5 available out there right now, but I still like it at 7.5. This game, to me, is pretty straightforward. The Giants were 7.5 point underdogs at home to this team 2 weeks ago. The Giants obviously won outright, but now the Eagles are at home, but the line is the exact same. So... yes, I took the Giants 2 weeks ago, but I think a 7.5 point underdog, especially on a short week. I forgot to mention that as well. That was Thursday Night Football. That was a short week. A 7.5 point underdog in that spot is very different from a road underdog of 7.5 points off a full week. I still look at these teams as basically the same as I did a couple of weeks ago. Maybe the Eagles figured something out last week in their win against the Vikings. I'm hoping so. I don't think the spread should be the same. I think the Eagles should be like 8.5, 9 point favorites in this one. So I took the 7. I would still take the 7.5. I would take it up to 8.5. The Giants, yes, they're fun, but this is an issue that you can fall into, a trap that you can fall into when betting on the NFL is sometimes fun teams give off the illusion that they are better than what they are, and I think the Giants are giving some people that illusion right now. Jackson Dart, 18th in the NFL in EPA plus CPOE, not great. I do think the Eagles figured something out last week against the Vikings, so I think they bounce back. I think they win big in this one. I'll take the Eagles -7, even money against the Giants. The Texans, they are taking on the 49ers. I'm going to lay. It's only 1.5 points. Let me see if that's still the latest line. Yep, 1.5, minus 108 on the Texans against the 49ers. I think the 49ers are one of the more fraudulent teams in the NFL right now. It's very funny because the last year the 49ers were, from a metrics and statistics standpoint, and this is the NFL, this is why it's crazy and so unpredictable. Last year, from like a metrics and underlying statistics standpoint, the 49ers were like a top 5 team in the NFL, but they could not win games. And then eventually, like the last 5 weeks, they just kind of rolled over and gave up. But like the first, 13 weeks of the season, they're like the best team in the NFL, but continuously lost because of special teams or just like an ill-timed turnover here or there, or they allowed a team to come back late in the game. But I remember even at the end of the season, I think they were second in the NFL in net yards per play. Like they were moving the ball down the field and keeping the other team from doing so. It just wasn't translating to wins. This year, 18th in the NFL in net yards per play at 0.0. Let me bring up some DVOA numbers. I know they're better than net yards per play, but I still don't think they're very... they certainly don't match the record at this point. I don't think they kind of match, actually, where they rank in the betting market. San Francisco 18th in DVOA, so yeah, actually the exact same as the ranking in net yards per play. This 49ers team is fraudulent, and I think the Texans team is a lot better than people think, and what the record shows. 8th in the NFL for DVOA overall for the Houston Texans. And the issue that cost the 49ers a lot last year has shown again. 29th in special teams DVOA. If you've been listening to this show, you know that for the first time ever, I'm looking at special teams, and the 49ers have a bad special teams. Not only that, of course, let's not forget, they don't have Fred Warner. I know that didn't cost them against the Falcons, but Falcons receivers were getting open. They didn't hold the Falcons at 10 points because they played really well on defense. They held the Falcons at 10 points because Michael Penix couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He couldn't hit an ocean from a boat. Yeah, I really like this bet. I'll take the Texans minus 1.5, minus 108 against the 49ers. Now, my concern sometimes is like when these teams who like their record isn't as good as like their metrics show, sometimes it's just like the momentum of the season like carries them to continue to win in that fashion. I hope that's not the case with San Francisco. I got to trust the numbers, and the numbers tell me the Texans are the team to bet in that one. Next up, we got the Bills against the Panthers. I'll take the Bills minus 7.5. I keep talking about this. This is going to be a little bit of a buy low, sell high spot. The Panthers, let's relax. 3-game win streak. 2 of those wins came against the Dolphins and the Jets, who are probably the 2 of the 3 worst teams. The only team that would be worse is the Titans. Panthers have not really faced an elite team all season. I don't know how the Panthers have managed to have this kind of a schedule. But the Panthers, the teams they have faced so far this season are the Jaguars, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Patriots. Patriots are probably the best team of the bunch, and the Patriots beat them 42-13. Then the Dolphins, the Cowboys, the Jets. They have not played an actual Super Bowl contender so far this season. You know, they played a few borderline top 10 teams, like the Patriots might be 10th in the NFL right now, but maybe not even that. I don't even know if you can consider any of their opponents so far as a top 10 team. This is going to be a week they're taking on the Bills that is going to be like, oh, right, the Panthers suck. That's going to be this week. It's like, oh, right, they were fun for a few weeks. Oh, but they played the Dolphins and the Jets. Never mind, I forgot they suck. They scored 13 points against the Jets last week. Bills coming off their bye week. They're going to be fresh. And their offense is just going to steamroll them. Panthers 21st in DVOA, 21st in net yards per play. And that's with, I guess DVOA does take into consideration strength of opponent, but net yards per play doesn't. And they're 21st in that stat. Give me the Bills minus 7.5 and minus 108. My upset pick of the week. I will take the New York Jets. I got them at plus 270 to upset the Cincinnati Bengals. This is crazy to me. Might be the most confused I've ever been by line in my life. Why are the Bengals 6.5 point favorites minus 300 on the money line against the Jets? I know Joe Flacco just looked good in his last start, but like, guys, Joe Flacco sucked the first 8 weeks of the season, 6 weeks of the season. He has one good start against the Steelers, and now we're like, oh, now we think the Bengals are going to be like a potential playoff team? What are we talking about, guys? Everyone's memory is so short in the NFL. Yeah, now, yes, he does have more weapons with Cincinnati than he did with Cleveland at the start of the season, but still, so far this season, he's completed 60.7% of passes, 6 interceptions, only 7 touchdown passes. Quarterback rating is 74.8. It's not good, guys. And he sucked last year with Indianapolis. I mean, this guy's 40 years old. Let's, stop expecting that this guy's like, just because he had one good start, great. Older quarterbacks will have those. This Bengals team is still 29th in the NFL in DVOA. 31st in net yards per play, minus 1.4. I get the Jets haven't won a game yet. I get the Jets are also bad. This is a game between two really bad teams. But in a game where you're going to give me plus 270 underdogs on a bad team to beat another bad team, I'll take that bet. Now, if you want to be safe, you can go take the 6.5 points, and the 6.5 points with the Jets might just be my number one overall bet of the week. Because that's crazy to me. These teams are equally as bad. They are 2 of the bottom 5 teams in the NFL. Why is one favored by 6.5 points? So I'll take a shot on the underdog. This is, this is my bread and butter. This is what I used to do when I'd have good seasons on this show. Take a game that I think is a lot closer than the spread indicates and take a shot on the underdog. Give me the Jets plus 270. If I want to get back to the green this season, I got to take shots like this. And I just don't see how the Bengals can be this big of a favorite. I'll take the Jets to get their first win of the season. Where are we at here? The Buccaneers and the Saints. This is one where my bet would change based on the line move. I was able to bet on the Saints at plus 6.5. It is now down to 4.5 against the Buccaneers. I no longer like the Saints at the new number. So while I will go based off my bet, I think if I were you, I think I'd probably take the under at 46.5. So just to reiterate, by the time you're listening to the show, if the spread is still at 4.5, my favorite pick would be the under 46.5. I bet this on Monday when the Saints were 6.5 point underdogs, so that is my bet for the sake of the show. But I think 4.5 is the right number, which is why I bet it at 6.5, and why I don't like the spread now. But the Buccaneers are the most fraudulent team in the NFL. They were exposed on Monday night, and that will continue. DVOA, they are 16th in the NFL in DVOA. They're an average team. Their defense, their secondary specifically, has been very bad. Their secondary has been horrific. Baker Mayfield's been great, but not actually as good as you think he has been. A lot of what Baker Mayfield has done so far this season, which is leads to his really good adjusted EPA numbers, have been what he's done with his legs. And then we saw last week against the Lions what happens if you kind of take away that factor of his game. And it's not completely his fault. His receivers have been hurt. Mike Evans now out for the season, it looks like. So I think you got to continue to sell your stock in the Buccaneers. So I took the Saints plus 6.5. Current numbers, I would like the under 46.5. Titans and the Colts. This might be a game between the best team in the NFL and the worst team in the NFL. I will take the Colts minus 14, minus 110. The betting market's finally starting to adjust a little bit to consider this Colts team as good as the metrics have shown. I mean, it's the same thing I talk about every single week with the Colts. Previous years, there's teams that do better than their preseason expectations, but then they have a really good record, but then you look at the underlying metrics and they aren't that good. That's when I point out, that fraudulent thing that I do with teams. Not the case with the Colts. First in the NFL in EPA per play. Offensively, not net EPA. First in the NFL in success rate. Defensively, defensive numbers have fallen off a little bit lately. 11th in the NFL still, though, in opponent EPA per play. And they're actually, wow, didn't realize this. Their opponent's success rate very low, 25th. Something to keep an eye on moving forward. Not a concern for me against the Titans, though. Overall DVOA, they are third, first in offensive DVOA, 16th in defensive DVOA, 8th in special teams DVOA. Meanwhile, you don't need me to read all these stats about the Titans. They suck. Last in DVOA. Their offense, defense, special teams is bad. Firing their coach can't fix a team that's already this bad. Cam Ward, maybe I was wrong about him. Last in net yards per play. I regret in hindsight laying the 14.5 points on the Packers against the Bengals a few weeks ago. This time I'm not going to regret it because this is, from a metric standpoint, a top 3 team against the worst team. And the better teams at home. So give me the Colts minus 14, minus 110 against the Titans. I got another upset pick. I'm doing 2 upset picks this week. I'm also on the Cowboys to upset the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos should feel lucky that they're 3-0 in their last 3 games because they have not looked good in those games. They were shut out against the Giants at home through the first 3 quarters. Yes, they had that huge fourth quarter comeback, but still, that's a red flag. They also only scored, 13 points against the Jets? 13 points against the Jets, that's not good. And they really got outplayed for a decent amount of the game against the Eagles. I know I was on the Broncos money line in that game, but that was actually probably one of the only games that the Eagles this year deserved to win, but didn't. So I think there's a lot of issues with the Broncos, specifically their offense, and I think the Cowboys' offense is good enough they can compete with anyone. Cowboys' offense is extremely good. I believe second in EPA. Let me see DVOA here. This EPA website's slow for me loading right now. 4th. DVOA, they're 4th offensively. Special teams, though, top 10. I think they beat the Broncos. I think the Broncos come back down to earth the next couple weeks. Steelers against the Packers. I don't know why the Packers are only 3-point favorites. I know good teams win, great teams cover. The Packers' metrics are so good at some point this season they're going to go on a cover spree. Only 3-point favorites against a Steelers team that's not great. A Steelers team that's mostly average. Green Bay second in the NFL in net yards per play, plus 1.2. 6th in DVOA, and it's solid across the board. The special teams is not great, 22nd. Where's Pittsburgh in? Pittsburgh's 13th in special teams, so not a huge difference. But Green Bay is probably the most well-rounded team in terms of offensively and defensively. 8th in offensive DVOA, 7th in defensive DVOA. I think they kind of deserve to cover those past 2 weeks, but they haven't. I would tell you guys to be careful. I know some people are going to do this. They're going to bet on the Steelers because this is an Aaron Rodgers revenge game. That means nothing. Do you really think a revenge spot is contributed into a point spread? How about this being a Matt LaFleur revenge spot against Aaron Rodgers? How about that? There you go. Cancel it out just like that. I'll take the Packers on Sunday Night Football -3, minus 110. And then that leaves us with the Commanders and the Chiefs. This is my only total bet of the week. I would hold off on betting on this until Jaden Daniels' injury status is announced, or if you think Jaden Daniels is going to play, then take the Commanders with the points. Because right now the point spread indicates that he's not going to play. I don't think the Commanders would be 10.5 point underdogs to the Chiefs if Jaden Daniels plays, but maybe I'm wrong. Instead I took the over 48.5. There's 47.5s available there now. This is mostly just a bet on how the Chiefs are made up this season. This is a Chiefs team that resembles a lot more of the Chiefs team from the early Patrick Mahomes years, where they're more offensive than defensive. For example, they're second in the NFL in offensive DVOA. They're 9th in defensive DVOA. EPA per play, they're 3rd behind only the Colts and the Cowboys. Patrick Mahomes is taking shots downfield. He has a healthy receiving core now. This is a different Chiefs team than what we're used to seeing. A Chiefs team before The unders would hit, and they wouldn't cover spreads as favorites. They'd win but not cover. This Chiefs team, by all signs and indications and metrics, are the opposite. They're a team that's going to hit overs, and they're going to cover big spreads. We saw that against the Raiders last week. Even if Jaden Daniels can't go, Marcus Mariota, when he subbed in, has looked fine at times. He looked actually half decent against the Falcons a few weeks ago. I think he can at least do enough against this Chiefs defense to help contribute to the over. So I'll finish off my week on Monday Night Football with the over 48.5 minus 105 between the Chiefs and Commanders. All right, let's recap my picks, and then I'll give you my survivor play and teaser of the week and my 5 best bets. Louisiana Tech lost in overtime. Shoot. Minnesota +3 minus 105 against the Chargers on Thursday. Saturday, we got Falcons minus 7.5 minus 108 against the Dolphins. We got Ravens minus 6.5 against the Bears. Browns +7 minus 105 against the Patriots. Eagles -7 even money against the Giants. Texans -1.5 minus 108 against the 49ers. Bills -7.5 minus 108 against the Panthers. Jets on the money line at +270 against the Bengals. Saints +6.5 against the Bucks. Once again, don't like the current number 4.5. I would prefer the under on the most up-to-date lines. Colts -14 against the Titans. Cowboys on the money line +150 against the Broncos. Packers -3 against the Steelers. Commanders Chiefs over 48.5 minus 105. Best bets for this week. I went 3-2 last week. I won on the Panthers, Patriots, Colts. I lost the Broncos, Falcons. This week it is the Raiders, or sorry, not the Raiders. I don't even think the Raiders are playing. Ravens -6.5 against the Bears. Eagles -7.5 against the Giants. Cowboys +3.5 against the Broncos. Jets +6.5 against the Bengals, and Packers -3.5 against the Steelers. So Ravens, you know what? I'm changing this. Keeping the Ravens. I'm not. I'm going to change the Ravens. I like the Ravens, but before I make them my best bet, I need them to prove it to me. Texans. And I love the Texans, so I was surprised I don't know why I didn't originally write down the Texans here. Texans -1.5 against the 49ers. Eagles -7.5 against the Giants. Cowboys +3.5 against the Broncos. Jets +6.5 against the Bengals. Packers -3.5 against the Steelers. So Texans, Eagles, Cowboys, Jets, Packers are my 5 best bets. My teaser of the week, which continues to win, I think. I gotta go back and count out my teaser record now. This Blue Jays deep playoff run, I love it. It's amazing. It has roasted my brain. My nights off that I usually go to bed early are now a World Series game that I got to stay up till midnight to watch. Teaser of the week, we're going to take the Bills down from 7.5 to -1.5 against the Panthers. That crosses key numbers of 7, 6, and 3. We're going to take the Eagles down from -7 to -1. That gets off the magic number of 7. Crosses key numbers of 6 and 3. A lot of good potential teaser legs this week. So you could add to it. You could take Bills and Eagles like I did. You could add to it by taking the Falcons down to -0.5. If you like the 49ers, you could take the 49ers up to +7.5. You could take the Patriots down to pick them. You could take the Ravens down to -0.5. You take the Bengals down if you like the Bengals down to 0.5. Like you could do a nice teaser this week. Like a 6-leg teaser. Be pretty crazy. Survivor this week. Only one entry in the Road to 272 Survivor pool was eliminated last week. Shout out to the poor soul out there who took the Steelers, because just about every single favorite won this past week, except for the Steelers. Only one entry eliminated last week. We are down to the final 52 entries out of the original 163. I think maybe once we dip below 50, I think I have to stop giving... no, I'm going to keep giving my Survivor pick, because most people actually aren't tailing them anyways. Broncos are the most popular pick in the pool this week. I'm taking Bills this week. I basically have the rest of the season mapped out, unless some things change, but I'm going to take the Bills this week. They're coming off a bye. They're taking on an overrated Panthers team. Some people have already used the Bills, so it's not going to be the most popular pick this week. And when you're looking down the future of the season for them, not a lot of other great spots. They're at the Dolphins in a few weeks. You could save that for then. They're at home to the Bengals in week 14. That would probably be the next best spot to take them. And then that's it. So, there's one of probably 3 potential times to take the Bills again. They're home to the Jets, but that's week 18, so that week might be meaningless to the Bills. And that's a big reason why if you map out your future Survivor picks, don't keep a really good team for week 18, because if they're a playoff team, there's a pretty good chance that they rest their starters. You kind of want like an average team the last week of the season. I think right now I have it mapped out so it's the Jaguars, who they are either going to miss the playoffs but be good enough that they're still probably going to be favored in their last week, and I think their last week might be against the Titans. Or they're going to be kind of on the verge of the playoffs and still be fighting for either a playoff spot or fighting for seeding in the wildcard round. So I think how I currently have it mapped out, I think Jaguars are my week 18 team. But don't take the Colts, Colts, yeah. Don't leave the Colts to week 18. Don't leave the Bills to week 18. Don't leave the Chiefs to week 18. Don't leave the Lions, Packers, Eagles probably till week 18. Because there's a solid chance a decent chunk of those teams will be resting their starters. But I will be taking the Bills in both of the pools that I have left, both in mine and Joe Ostrowski's pool. I was on the Broncos this past week. I thought I was eliminated. I thought my Survivor season was over. And then one of the best 5-minute comebacks ever worked in my favor. I'm sure there's many of you who are on the Broncos as well. So I'm still alive. So hopefully my luck continues in Survivor pool. A little part of me dies when I'm done all my Survivor pools entries every year. I always love watching my Survivor entries each week. So hopefully the Bills don't lose to the Panthers this week, because they are my Week 8 pick. And this has been the Week 8 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. Thank you all so much for watching, listening. Rate and review the podcast. Go Jays, go. Best of luck with all your bets this weekend. I'll talk to you all next week, because the road to 272 bets marches on.